This week, a group of 59 white South Africans arrived in the US, where they've been granted refugee status. President Trump says the refugee applications were expedited because the people concerned were victims of racial discrimination, something South Africa's government denies. The Afrikaners are descended from Dutch settlers who arrived 4 centuries ago to South Africa and who led the government which brought in apartheid, a racially segregated political system which has led to discrimination against black South Africans, and it's no longer in force. Well, usually it takes years for the US government to process refugee applications, but this group waited only 3 months. Well, our North America correspondent Nomia Iqbal has been speaking to one of those who made the journey.
If you're white, you're wrong in South Africa. You're a land thief, you are a racist. The whole time it's being told, and there is racist white people, plenty of them.
You say you're not a racist white person?
No, not at all. I've got many black friends. I think I've got more African black men as friends as white friends. I'm tired of being told, just because I'm white, I'm a thief. Just because I'm white, I'm wrong in this. I had nothing to do with apartheid. Nothing.
Is there anything specific that's happened, Charles, that made you think, I've got to get out of here? I've got to leave?
After the death rates and stuff and my machinery being cut up, and I'm still, after reporting everything to the police, not getting any protection or anything like that. The only thing that's left on my farm is a sign that says mining area. All the fences has been taken off, boom gates has been broken off.
There are voices out there, including the South African president, who has called you cowards.
Yeah.
You've got other Afrikaners who are saying that you're not refugees, you're opportunists, that you've abandoned the country. What would you say to those people?
I had to leave a 5-bedroom house, which I will lose now because I'm not going to pay for it, behind, my car behind, my dogs behind, my mother behind. It is not, I didn't come here for fun, but my children are safe.
What was it like when you got off the shuttle bus and came into that hangar and were greeted by the Trump administration?
It was overwhelming. I didn't expect that because I thought we're going to be in a shuttle bus, taken somewhere, and we will start working. All of us that is there, we know we're going to start here from the bottom because we are the new people here. We're going to start from the bottom.
Do you ever worry that you might be caught up in some big political game here? That you're a pawn somehow?
Yeah, it's a scary thing, but people mustn't think we're just taking advantage of this. We're coming here to make a contribution to the country.
Old tweets of yours have been dug up in which you appear to have made anti-Semitic comments, and so people are questioning, should you be here?
Yeah,
what would you say to that?
I would like them...
What would you like to clarify?
I've deleted the comment, but...
Hello and welcome to the Spaghetti Junction podcast. My name is Bruce.
My name is Gareth.
And we talk about things, we just don't know where they're going to go.
I had cut that a little bit because it kind of like moved away from the rest of the interview, but you would have gotten the rest of it.
No worries. Yeah, so we're just chatting today about America's policy regarding South African refugees and the refugees that have already left South Africa and gone to the States to start a new life. Because
are they refugees?
Well, this is the question. They have refugee status.
There we go.
So,
that's a good way of speaking.
see how language works.
Yeah.
But yeah. So quite interestingly, from during the period from when Trump first announced that that whole thing, that South Africa's where he offered that. We made that offer to South Africa, at a total of 67,042 South Africans had applied by the 14th of March. So that's a lot of people who I'm not sure. When did? Oh, the executive order was on the 7th of February.
Okay,
and
so
by the
about a month.
14th, yeah, just over a month. Yeah,
Okay.
67,000 applications, and yeah, we had an initial group of 59 refugees that went, and then as of the last week of May, we had another 9 people plus their families and that. So yeah, we have gone. So yeah, we'll see how many other people are actually become eligible for it, because it's not the easiest thing to do. You know, a lot of people have applied, but how many of those are actually going to be able to leave the country under this policy is another thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and it's actually the official name for it is Mission South Africa. It actually has a name to it.
Yeah.
Well, what I found very interesting in that interview, and just in general, you know, from all the research, for the majority of the world, I can even say for the rest of the world right now, it seems, but let's just say the majority, to get refugee status can take years. Whereas the Afrikaners come across and they manage to get status in 3 months.
Yeah, this one is definitely fast tracked. So
yeah, it's fast tracked. And if you're thinking of what a refugee is, in fact, just hold on for me quickly. I want to bring up something. I'm going to tell you right now what I'm. So a refugee. Let me just bring up, you know, the full meaning of refugee. There's a bunch. So refugees are people forced to flee their own country and seek safety. They are unable to return to their own country because of feared persecution as a result of who they are, what they believe in or say or become, or because of armed conflict, violence, or serious public disorder. So underlying thing of like what makes a person become a refugee, someone who has fled their own country because they are at risk of serious human rights violation and persecution. Now, if you think of refugee, and like the amounts of people who have tried to get from their country to somewhere safer, a lot of them came in by boats, a lot of them died. It was that intensive where to be in their own country, it was actually worth risking the shot of going on a boat somewhere. Now, that's intensity that they were going through, like it says, war, famine, across the board, whatever I mentioned there. There's a huge amount of reasons why someone can be a refugee. But refugee, just in general, as to what we know and what we have grown up with and what's in the news all the time, a refugee to me is different to the Afrikaner thing. It just doesn't have as, when you think of refugees, to me personally, that's like it really hits me, on my empathy side of things, because they are like in a ridiculously tough place. But the question is it really that bad in South Africa that they have refugee status? But even more, it boggles my mind how it can take to the short amount of time of 3 months, where there are people who are in dire need, and that their refugee status can take a few years. But somehow, and again, I'm not downplaying. Okay, I'm coming from outside. Okay, so I'm not downplaying what is happening in South Africa. Obviously, I'm not there right now. I'm not downplaying the farm deaths, because there have been a lot. So their points are valid. It's just the question is, how intense is what they are facing or supposedly facing, compared to what we would know as their, like, it's horrible to say this, but officially what a refugee is. Is that too harsh? Because I know if they are coming from the background where they are scared of dying, then obviously that actually makes them a refugee. It's just questions. I'm just unsure how they began to get it in 3. I think one of the biggest questions with people is that how did it take 3 months, where with other refugees, with the majority, it can take years. So I'm not being harsh.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they aren't suffering, because absolutely that is happening in South Africa. But a few of the questions that arose from basically Ramaphosa, obviously not a fan of it, and then even fellow Afrikaners were basically saying, I can't remember the wording that was used in that interview, but it was I'm opportunists. That's how they viewed. A lot of Afrikaner people are viewing that as opportunists. That all those questions. That's where I'm coming from. Hand it back to you on that one.
Look, the whole thing of all the reasoning of why they fast tracked that stuff to only being 3 months. I don't know why. Maybe it's just something that just, Trump just said,
it's Trump.
Okay, let's do it. And he's the president. He can make those decisions. So it
shows he can make things go faster if he really wanted to, kind of thing.
Definitely. I think so. Yeah. So now let's have a chat. So now with me living in South Africa, I can chat more about this now.
Yes, please do.
So I think they threw around the word genocide a little bit too much and a little bit too flippantly.
Yeah.
So white people are not being lined up and exterminated in South Africa. Okay, we're not. If you think of a genocide, if you think of genocides that have happened in other African countries, that is like huge amounts of people that have been lined up and just exterminated like cattle.
Yeah. There's no genocide there. Absolutely.
No, genocide is an extreme mass murder of a particular race or ethnic group. Okay.
Group. Yeah. Yep.
However, we cannot discount the fact that a lot of there are a huge amount of farm attacks, farm murders that have happened.
Absolutely.
And not just and it's not just whites. It's other races as well that also farm. People who live on small holdings, people who live on plots. I think if in South Africa, if you live on a plot or a small holding, you're asking for trouble because you're so vulnerable and you're so far away from neighbors. But I can also understand how if you live in an area where you're a farmer and you've been attacked and your family has been threatened, or you've had neighbors who have been brutally murdered, it comes to a point where you're like, I'll take any lifeline I can get. I think for a lot of these people, it has come to that point of like absolute desperation, where it's like, I live in fear every day, fear of my family, fear of my children, because we don't know what's going to happen when we go to bed at night. And when the most powerful country in the world offers you a lifeline, are you not going to grab it? Because I would. I'd be like, hell yes, sign me up.
Yeah.
But as a white South African at the moment, I don't walk down the street getting death threats. Okay. That's not, I am surviving in this country. month to month, I do what I can to survive. Economically, the country's not in a great place, but the whole thing of this, I think they kind of messed up when they said the word genocide, because that became sensationalized in a lot of ways. And but maybe some South Africans will agree that there is a genocide going on. It's just something we're not seeing. I don't know.
No, trust me.
I don't.
No, not at all.
I don't
No
believe that there's.
No, there's not. On the basis of what genocide really is, not
Exactly.
at all.
Yeah, but I think some people would like to use that word to
I must be very careful to
try.
use that word.
Yeah, I know. You've got to be very careful with language.
So
That's the
careful.
thing. Yeah. So
let me just quickly read this. Hold on. What did I just do? Cancel that. Sorry. So genocide, as defined by the Convention for the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. Okay, so there's actually a convention, refers to acts. They are acts that are committed with the intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. This includes killing members of the group, causing serious bodily or mental harm, deliberately inflicting conditions of life calculated to bring about physical destruction, imposing measures intended to prevent births, and forcibly transferring children of the group. The term genocide was coined in 1944 by this person called Raphael Lemkin to more clearly define the crime of mass murder of groups of people. Underline mass.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then look, we definitely do have a couple of extremists in this country that publicly talk about that and call for it.
Yeah.
Which is always concerning, and I'm glad that's sort of been brought to the world stage a little bit more. But en masse, that's not really happening.
I think we can move on from that, but yes, I agree. It's not.
And I think what we found. I mean, hell, I looked into it when this bill was passed. I'm like, wow, maybe there's a chance that I think I was in a very bad place. I was hacked off about something. Just, oh man, stuff was getting on top of me about the country. It's not easy living in South Africa. Okay, let's just be honest. There's a lot of stuff that the current administration has made very difficult for the average person to live in South Africa, just on a day-to-day basis. And it really can. You've really got to watch out that it doesn't get on top of you, because it can. You hit one more pothole with your car. You get to one more robot that's out of order. The lights go out for the second. The lights go out for the third time that week. It really does compound. And I think what you're probably finding is a lot of these applications of that 67,000 is just South Africans who are just generally pissed off and they want to leave because they're just done with living in a country that doesn't work.
Now, to go on with that though, and I mean this in a good. I don't mean this horribly, but that's a very white perspective, and I can and why I say that is because. Okay, the robots aren't working, but you've got a car and you've got to wait like another 10 seconds or 15 seconds
that's also true.
Before, you know what I mean? Where you've got people who don't have a car at all and they can't get to work, for example, or for them, they have to catch a minibus taxi. And those are just ludicrously dangerous just for them to get to any form of work.
Yeah.
Which is part of South Africa in general. They're putting their life on the line. So I hear what you're saying, but it's a and again, I'm saying this as if I was there now, I'd be saying the same thing to me. I can understand, yes, there are frustrations, there are things that aren't working with the country, absolutely. But if you see the difference, like I guess the questioning the whole, it's like, well, if white farmers were given the option, which is understandable, but then how about the black South Africans who are also facing? So I see what you're saying. Yes, from our more privileged side of things, yes, the country was getting absolutely frustrating, and yes, for me, I love the country, but I'm grateful that I've moved back here.
Yeah.
But I had the luxury of working. I had the luxury of saving. I had the luxury of a car that I sold. You know what I mean? That got me here. And I have the luxury of being born in a different country, so I could move.
Yeah.
So your point is valid from our side of the fence. Absolutely. I can relate to you. It's just everything's falling apart. Just saying on the other side, you'll see both sides to it. So I'm not negating what you're going through. I'm saying it just shows the difference between, as to, but everybody's problem is real, no matter what's like wherever you are. Anyway, sorry. Carry on.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why I have to really think about, every day I really have to consider the small things that I've actually got so much to be thankful for. If I have half a tank of petrol in my car, that's great. I have a roof over my head. I have I have a bed to sleep.
Yeah.
I have a bed to sleep in.
Exactly.
I have,
Me too.
I have an income. And unfortunately, sometimes I do get to the end of the month and I wonder, like, oh, flip, am I going to be able to, all my debit orders going to go off, because I haven't earned as much that month as other months and stuff like that. It's a little bit tough, and but then again, like, I think, what do they say?
Which is real. It's
no,
good.
it's absolutely real, I think. And so, I think, what do they say? What do they say? If you have a job and a car and a place to stay, you're in like the top 5% of the world's population.
Like the minimal percentage,
it's like you are like, and that sort of, you got to remind yourself of that as well. It's like flipping hell, because of how many people actually live in the world that don't even have something, and that really, and we sometimes forget to put that into perspective. But
it is true.
and
I mean, also with what you're saying though, it's also okay also to what, I actually, this month is going to be super hard and it's difficult, because that's also valid. So it's thankful for what you have, and also, okay, this is a rough month. I've found I've had those a lot. And I mean, I just know, and seeing it happen in my life, especially without having worked for a while, seeing how God has been keeping me going continuously every single week. If I'm feeling happy, if I'm feeling not, grateful or grateful not, but I am doing my utmost best to be grateful every single day. I agree with you completely. Yes. So in gratitude for what we have, it's like, I help out at a food bank once a week. And again, I learned that lesson when I first went, because I was like, oh, I haven't got this, God, this, and then you meeting families who they are relying on that food parcel for their next week. You go home like, God, you know what? I never want to be ungrateful ever again.
I mean, I talk about sometimes my stressful situation, but I can still walk to Checkers and go and get some groceries, kind of thing. And it's it's good to put that into perspective. So, but I must be but I must be honest. If an opportunity arose, for me to leave, I'd take it. I would. not because I'm being persecuted as a white person.
It's just because you want to move. Fair enough.
Yeah, and I think and I think it's an economic thing as well, because one rand in South Africa does
like
not work the same as one it doesn't work the same as $1 in America or $1 in New Zealand where you are. You can do so much more with $1 in that country than you can with R1 in South Africa.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's
I do like what you're saying, though, that you differentiated between being the white South African and just saying that, Bruce, you know what, I just want to move on for whatever reasons, which is fair. I mean, absolutely. And I think that's where that line has to be drawn. And I think that was one of the questions as to, are these Afrikaners really being persecuted, or are they just going, oh crap, we can actually leave the country and use that, which is what some people were saying, opportunists. Are they opportunists or are they not?
Well, let's take okay, it's interesting you bringing that up. So let's take a look at the actual eligibility. Okay,
yeah, that's good.
I honestly don't think it was okay. Fine, the certain applications were fast tracked. That doesn't just mean to say America opened their doors and said, right, we got you, great, come, let's go. No, there are still stringent background, biometric, all that stuff has to be taken care of. They just did it really quickly, I think. But so the three main points.
Like
well, just sort of. So let me just do the background, the three main points of eligibility. I don't know if you looked at this at all on the consulate. Okay.
No, I didn't.
So according to the US, the embassy and the consulates of South Africa, to be eligible for US resettlement consideration, this is particularly for the South Africans. You must be of South African nationality, right? Yeah. You must be of Afrikaner ethnicity or be a member of a racial minority in South Africa, and must be able to articulate a past experience of persecution or fear of future persecution. Okay. So those are the three main things. It doesn't go into...
No, it's fine. I was going to say, I'm sure that kind of equates to many. Like, you can find things that happened in the past and you can carry on.
Correct. So I think the people that have gone, like the initial 59 people, it's the USA. Those 59 people underwent very, very stringent sort of questioning and background checks, and they had to really. So in order for them to be there, I'm pretty positive that those people have either had stuff in the past happen that, or they live in a situation that makes them legitimately fear that kind of thing could happen in the future. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. This is the US. You don't just walk into the US because you're afraid of something happening. You've still got to go through all those stringent things.
Fair.
So, and obviously the people who are doing that believed that these people were in a group that are legitimately fearing for their lives. And they accepted them on the basis of what they had of the accounts of either, like you said, past persecution. Maybe they've had friends and family members who have been killed. Maybe they've had multiple attacks on their own farms or whatever, if they are particular farmers.
Fair. That's fair.
Or maybe they live in an area where everyone around them has had something happen, and they think, and they have this very legitimate fear that they're next.
Yeah, I mean,
So
that guy in the interview, which we played at the beginning, he was saying that he left behind his house, cars, animals, everything, and just like said, "Screw it, we're out of there."
yeah, that's it. Sometimes, and if they, if they're in that, we don't know what it's like to be living out on a massive farm where your nearest neighbor is 5-6 kilometers away. You're kind of isolated. You do whatever you can to sort of protect yourself, but it's not always possible. And then also the law enforcement, other people are not going to be, they're not around the corner. If you call them, they're going to take a while to get there. Yeah, so that's why I think I would hesitate to say that these people have legitimate claims of like, yes, I can actually consider myself a refugee because of the eligibility guidelines. So it's quite interesting what it says. It must be of Afrikaner ethnicity or be a member of a racial minority. So I understand that wording.
Okay, yeah.
I understand that wording for it to be open to all white people because whites in South Africa are the minority race, or one of them at least. I was just saying that's how I understand the wording.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Because a lot of people were saying, oh no, it's only open to Afrikaans people. That was the initial thing. It's like, oh well, if I'm English, I'm screwed. I can't even make it. But now, if it says, if I understand the wording correctly, or be a member of a racial minority, I'm white. That makes me a member of a racial minority in South Africa. So I'm just saying. So
yeah.
So yeah. But the thing is, you see, yes, I meet two of the criteria, but I'm not able to articulate a past experience or even a real fear of future persecution.
Yeah.
Maybe I could in the future. Maybe things get so bad here that I could maybe make it. I hope not. I really hope not. Yeah. But at this point, yes, I'm in Joburg. I'm in Gauteng. I live in the biggest crime-ridden province in the biggest crime-ridden city in South Africa. Okay, I do. But I'm not, and it's not like I walk around fearing for my life, but I have a certain amount of, you could call it fear or trepidation, like, oh flip, I've got to watch out where I am.
Yeah.
Am I going to get, okay, fine. Fortunately, my car looks like a complete skadonk at the moment, so I don't know about getting hijacked.
Great word.
But, or like, we have constant concerns here in Joburg in South Africa, and those are completely legitimate because crime is an epidemic here. But we live and survive with it anyway. So yeah.
Wow.
Well,
you want to throw in like one or two more thoughts, and I think.
Oh yes. So something I did here, and this is probably a good thing for South Africans who are considering getting involved in this refugee program. At the moment, filing for asylum for America is free of charge. You don't get charged for anything. Okay. So, but they do want to. They've proposed a bill to start charging asylum seekers for that. So, and I think it's going to be. I think it's to plan to sort of cut down on the amount of people who do seek asylum, because you're getting a lot of people doing it. If they're going through the proper channels, even if they go through the proper channels, and apparently it's free at the moment, but they've proposed a bill that if it goes through, they will be it's to reform the asylum policy, and it's going to be $1,000 fee for an asylum claim. So that's what you've got to pay just
Well,
to
that's
claim.
absolutely well. That's rough if you're coming from a country that
Like South
literally
Africa
you just don't have money. You just no, not South Africa. Like
anyway.
like I was. Well, I mean anywhere, but I mean
Yeah.
I'm talking about someone who like really. For example, I was reading a story about I don't know if I can find it now for us, but anyways, it was about this refugee family. They came from the DRC and they ended up in Kenya, and they were about I think they were about a few hours from their flight landing, which they would then, catch to get to America. And that's when Trump basically pulled the whole refugee plan. He basically came. It's, from what I understand right now, it's not active. He's basically not canceled it. He's basically stopped it for whatever reason behind it. But let's just say you as a family, and legitimately, and you've been accepted, but you got to be paying $1,000. I mean, in any country, that's a shitload of money. I'll tell you now, dollars to, I'll tell you now, to Kenyan shillings. So if they were going to be paying with shillings, that's 129. So one United States dollar is almost it's basically 129.18 shillings. So for a United States $1,000, they would have to get hold of 129,184.26 Kenyan shillings. So I would hope that they would do that maybe with I guess it's hard, but in the sense that to throw that as a blanket rule where people cannot afford anything, to where there are countries where maybe, I mean, $1,000 is a lot of money, obviously. But if you're coming from a country where you have been able to work and have been able to live, you'll save it up somehow. And your point is valid. Yes, I think it'll bring people down. I just don't want
it'll slow down
the
application.
Yeah, well, I just don't want it to be a blanket rule that they place over every country in the world. Because I mean Anyways, wrap us up, buddy.
Yeah, so that would mean for South Africans, if they want to do it, it would be $18,000, and then and then included would be a $550 fee for your work permit. That's just under 10,000 rand.
And you might and bear in mind you might not even get it.
Yeah, and then that work permit is actually renewable every 6 months. So that's $550 every 6 months. Okay,
that's a lot.
And paying $100 a year while your application is pending. So yeah. Anyway.
No, that is a lot of money.
Yeah. So.
Huge amount.
Well, I mean, yeah.
That's
so
very
we'll
good,
see how
research there, but it's good.
Yeah, so we'll see how this goes. I think I think we're going to probably get this. I wouldn't be surprised. Look, I don't know about this, but I wouldn't be surprised if after this initial group of SA refugees have gone through, the process might get back to being longer. Maybe they just fast track the first group, and now they're getting back to the whole thing of, okay, they've probably got to wait a good 6 months, a year, maybe even longer.
Yeah.
I don't know, but people are going to be continuously applying, and we're going to see more South Africans leaving because they're grasping at this lifeline. And if you are a South African and you have reasonable cause then I don't blame you. And if you've got an opportunity to find a better life, then go. If you, but as far as that whole word genocide that's being thrown around in the media,
No, we agree.
Easy, Tiger. Easy, Tiger.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yes, like I said, we have some extremists who would advocate for that if they got given the opportunity, but
Yes.
that's not the case.
No, correct. Okay, I'd like to end us off with a little clip of when President Ramaphosa from South Africa met up with old Trump, and invariably, if you question Trump, then it just becomes a shit show, like what happens with Ukraine when the president of Ukraine came to the White House, and it was just embarrassing, man. He just got jumped on like school bullies. It was horrid, and it could have gone that route, but Ramaphosa actually handled himself pretty well. So yeah, I just thought, just for interest's sake, if you haven't seen it, just a little clip, of how it went down. Yeah.
Okay.
Rock and roll. This is kind of where we can say, "Oh fuck, did I just no?" Good. Oh, sorry, you still there?
Yeah.
Sorry, I guess I thought that that we had gotten to a point where I wiped out our channel for some reason, because I can't find this on my I can't find this on my tabs. Explain that one. All right, here we go. I think I have this. I can't find this.
Oh dear. Well, we're still here.
Well, for the life of me, I can't even stop our recording. That's how bad it is. Bear with us, people. This is seriously bizarre for me. Like, I cannot access our page. So this is going to end now, but I cannot actually end our video until I work out how the hell to get into this, because I do see it's there. Gosh, that is so strange. Sorry, people.
But you can't actually access it.
I can't. I can see it if I do. If I do, an alt tab, but it doesn't pop up.
Okay.
So I don't know. Okay, I think guys, this has not happened to me before. Bruce, I think what I'm going to do is we finish off, and I'm going to literally shut down my laptop, and my browsers, and hopefully it'll go, oh crap, the recording has stopped, so let me stop it. Otherwise, we've had a really fascinating talk for no reason whatsoever.
Okay. Well,
so forget about the video.
Okay.
So finish us off, Bruce, and let's hope this sees the light of day.
Well, this hopefully has been the Spaghetti Junction podcast.
Oh, I got us back.
Oh.
Let's end.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So now I can say this has definitely been the Spaghetti Junction podcast.
It has been, yes.
And like, comment, subscribe, do your thing, share with us what you feel about this whole situation in South Africa with our South African asylum seekers. I would probably call them asylum seekers more than refugees. Maybe that's a better term. Yeah. And we'll keep an eye on things. I'm sure it'll be an ongoing thing now, considering that door of opportunity has been opened. I'm sure a lot of people are still in the application process, so we'll see how we go. And we will catch you guys in the next one.
Indeed, we shall. Good evening, and good night from my side. Good morning from your side.
Yeah, pretty much.
Goodbye.
Cheers, bye.